jdarks, why don't you start it out for us here?
Hey, you Grateful Dead fans.
Oh, it's been too long since I
Hiya,
heard
Jay.
that. Great to talk to you. This is a dream come true for me.
Well, you're too kind. It's a pleasure and my privilege to be here.
Yeah, this is just fantastic, and what a treat you've been to this community. I cannot tell you how many people I've talked to who started off their Grateful Dead journeys learning through you, which is just
That's good to hear.
I gotta thank you for that, and I'm thanking you personally because I was one of those people, and I'm also gotta thank you on the behalf of the community because what a legend you are. Man,
Well, I got a lot of emails over the years from people who always let me know that they were getting some benefit out of it. So I'm happy about that.
that's so cool. I'm so fascinated by your journey, especially how early you came to the game. I'm a young person myself, born in '96, and I don't know if you give away your age at all because you're a young
Let
spirit
let
at heart.
let's just say Bob Weir's 5 years older than me.
Okay, so people who are interested in doing the math, they can go figure that out. Oh
40,
man,
47 was the right year to be born for.
holy moly! You got all the good music then.
We got all the good music.
That's awesome. So why don't you start by just telling us how your Grateful Dead journey started off as both a listener and appreciator, and then as a player, and then a transcriber, and it's obviously spiraled out of control, right?
Well, you must have a lot of time. Okay.
I do. We got all the time in the world.
Well, I got into the Dead in college. I guess I was 19. It was 1970. And we got to school, and, it was Steve Miller and the Airplane and Santana and the Allman Brothers. And then I hear Box of Rain. And that opening 3 seconds of Box of Rain did it for me.
Wow.
And then not to mention everything else, because Working Man's and American Beauty had just come out around then.
Cool.
And then quickly got into what you called Skull and Roses. We called the Second Live.
Okay.
So I kind of missed all the sixth, the Oxa Moxa and the other stuff. We eventually got those records.
Yeah.
But we came in with Working Man's in about 70.
Wow.
So that's what did it for me, was those things. And the Second Live, that live album was just unreal. So in college, which is where I saw my first show, I guess in 72. A couple of friends had gone earlier. And I should mention, I did this really with a group of people. I wasn't finding the Dead on my own. This was like a collaborative group. Everybody was crazy about the Dead.
Wow.
And I'm still in contact with all those people all these years later, coincidentally.
Unreal.
We still share our love of the Grateful Dead. But anyhow, I get to 72 and I go to Roosevelt Stadium in Jersey City and saw the Boys. And I bought a guitar. I bought my electric guitar the next day.
Yes.
I said, I gotta do this, because what I was hearing was just so incredible.
Yeah.
And then my live journey, I guess I saw about 60 shows over the years, but I basically covered the Buffalo, Rochester, Utica, Hartford, Springfield, Boston, Nassau, Roosevelt, Stanley, Washington, Philly route. That was my.
You could
So
say Northeast, but that's not just the Northeast, really.
No.
Wow.
Well, that was just on the throughway,
Yeah.
and we just cut class and go to shows.
I love it.
So that was it, and we had a great time.
Wow.
And the Grateful Dead in those years were a different Grateful Dead than the ones that people who came on like in 87 with Touch of Grey,
Yeah.
and saw 90 shows. This was a different band. It was a different sound. It was a Keith sound. It was sometimes it was a Bill only sound. I don't think Mickey was with the band when I first saw them. I think it was just Bill.
Wow.
So, but what I was seeing, what impressed me about the Dead was not just the music. I was seeing an organization of people who were completely committed to that enterprise that they were on.
Yep.
A lot of people think the Dead were just a bunch of stoners who stumbled their way from show to show. That was not what was happening. There was an entire ensemble beyond the musicians of the sound people, the crew, and who has recorded every second of every note they've ever played.
Unreal.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Truly unreal.
Unreal, and in such a quality, you know.
Yep.
So that was that I knew I was seeing something special in this, and the sound system. You know, I was there for the wall.
The wall.
Yeah.
So cool.
So it was crystalline, sparkling. It was like a sound you just didn't hear from other bands. Wow. So that gets us into the 70s, and I kind of trailed off in the late 70s, I guess.
Okay.
I think I saw my last show in 90 at Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
Yeah, which was a totally different sound. And I said, pretty much, okay, this isn't the Dead that I knew.
That you knew and loved. Yeah,
right.
From the early
right.
years. Yeah.
So I can put on Europe 72. If I want to hear the Dead I love, I put on Europe 72.
That's perfect.
So that's the Dead. Then as far as the guitar goes, I had the guitar, and I have zero talent as a guitar. I'm not a musician. I never studied
Can't
music.
say that. Can't say that. You're not allowed to. I'm sorry.
There are really, I mean, you just look at the people today who are playing this stuff. They're just incredible. They're incredible. You're right there at the top of the list.
Stop that. You're too kind.
But the quality of the music today, the players today, is just is beyond belief. But anyhow, back then there was none of that.
Okay.
And if you wanted to learn a song, you'd get on the internet. I should say that I was there at the beginning when computers were boxes on a table hooked up with loose wires. That's where it was. Because in my job, I word processed a lot, so that wasn't a stranger to me. So I started looking on the web because the internet was kind of new then too.
Yeah.
But the tabs sucked. They were terrible.
Couldn't find anything.
It was chords and lyrics, and half the time they were wrong. But if you wanted to play the Dead, the key to the Dead is the signatures in every tune of the detail that Bob and Jerry and Phil were putting. Not, I don't know drumming, but I include Bill as well.
Sure.
But so I started to try to copy what I was hearing, to learn it, but there was so much of it, I couldn't remember it all. So I would write it down, tab it out. And pretty soon with a bunch of tabbing's not that hard once you get your macros down and you know how to do it and you've done it a lot. And
cool.
It's pretty easy to get close to what you're going for. So I'm collecting all this stuff on the hard drive. And so I'll tell you a quick story. So my office was down the street from a liquor store where I'd go after work and get a 6-pack or whatever. And the guy behind the counter was also the bartender at the local tavern.
That's convenient.
Yeah. Where they had an open mic. And he knew that I played guitar. He said, and for like a year, he was telling me, come on down, play at the open mic. And I wasn't about to do that. But anyway, finally, I went down to the open mic. And I'm all set with Deal and Bertha. Yeah. I'm gonna play these songs. And this young guy, so like I'm in my late 40s at this point. Mm-hmm. And this kid comes up. He must have been your age. He says, "Oh, I can." He hears I'm going to play. He says, "I can play that." So I said, "Oh shit! Here's somebody moving in on my act. I don't even have an act, right?"
Been working on it all these months.
Right. So we get up there and we start playing, and he knows what he's doing, and it's sounding great.
That's cool.
And I'm going, "Oh my God, listen to this." So we kind of hit it off. And for the next 4 or 5 years, we would spend night after night. My kids were kind of grown up at that point, and we would work out Cassidy. We would get the interplays on all the tunes, going for authentic Dead. That
Bob
was our
and Jerry dynamics.
This guy's name was Johnny Ace Soward. He was a drummer, but he wanted to play Bob, and he
Wow.
did it very well. And so we would work out these tunes, and then we got hooked up with a bass player, Danny Heen, who's now out in San Diego, who knew Phil inside out.
Awesome.
And now all of a sudden it's sounding great. And eventually Billy Muchler, who was is the drummer for the Samples, he was in town and was between gigs. So he's drumming. And now we got a dead band, and it's
No way.
people are coming, sounded good. And then, life goes on. John had to move. He moved down to Nashville. Dan was out in San Diego. Butchler went on tour. And that was kind of the end of my career with that band. But I learned so much from these people about time signatures, about key changes, because I had no education in this area. Cool. It was all just figuring it out. So I was very lucky that way to have people like the Dead, who were committed to this project, and it worked out.
That's amazing.
So that's so now I got all this tab building up on my hard drive sitting there. And I said, why don't I put this up on the way? Here, this tab, all this tab that's out there is awful.
Yeah.
Throw it up there and see, if anybody wants it. They said some people, not the people I just mentioned, but other people say, man, you can't do that. People will steal your licks.
Away.
They'll steal
yours.
I said, well, that's what I want them to do.
Yeah.
Because I want to go out and hear it.
Yeah.
Right.
Selfishly, you want people to play that music.
Right. So let them at least do it right. So that was so my humble little effort there. I tried to capture the key lick to the tune, or the style, so that you really got a feel that the player was trying, at least, not just to play Grateful Dead songs, but to play them right.
Yes.
So
wow.
So then I started posting. Then I was starting to get even people. Well, now people are reacting to it. They liked it.
You got an audience.
Right. All of a sudden there's an audience for this, which is kind of cheating, because it's really the Grateful Dead's audience, so you're kind of
an extension of it, and it's a niche audience that's trying to learn a certain aspect. Wow.
So then YouTube comes along, and I had an outbuild, like a barn, where I had a studio that away from the house, because my wife threw me out of the house. She wouldn't let me play.
If you played as much as you do,
she couldn't hear Uncle John's band for the 12,000.
You're a little too studious musically for her.
Right. So somehow YouTube came out, and I had a camera, and I said, what the hell? So I posted a couple of videos. And back in those days, YouTube was brand new.
Yeah, 2005, 2006.
I think I got there in 7 or thereabouts.
Okay.
But anyhow, in those days, jdarks was like the top-rated view. It was like a pop,
like a trending.
They would, yeah. And I'm going, are you got to be kidding me?
Awesome. Most famous man on YouTube
for a week. Yeah,
that is awesome. Do you remember what video that was? Was there a particular video that had a lot of traction?
Well, no, I don't know if that particular. The first one I did was Dire Wolf.
Oh, cool.
Trying to make the pedal steel sound, and Dire Wolf. I mean, Matt Ray can do this with his eye. Come on,
that's his specialty.
He's a pro.
Yep.
That's a professional.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was a lot of fun. Then I just had. I tried to make these things entertaining, and as opposed to simply here's an amateur who can't really play guitar. I tried to tell a story and make a video. Like if I go on, I had a motorcycle.
Oh, nice.
And I'd take a trip, and I'd made up a story where I was meeting a band to play some show where they never showed up.
Okay.
But it gave me an excuse to put my vacation movie together, and with a Dead soundtrack, and play a tune and make something funny.
That's perfect.
I did a Grateful Dead book club. I talked about the vintage of the Dead to to tell you what to drink, which vintage wine as opposed to,
Yeah.
right?
The sommelier of
And
Grateful Dead. That's nice.
well, the trick is you pick the vintage of the Dead, and then the wine follows the Dead
Okay.
vintage, not the other
Not
way
the
around.
other way. That's awesome.
So people, so I was trying to be cute and funny, and there were you
It
could always,
worked.
it worked for some people, and they had some fun. I was having fun. Then I get my friends involved in some of the movies, and we were just having a great time.
Of course.
Which is, so the whole Grateful Dead thing is just about having fun, and that's what that was. So then I did that for 10 years, and I was thinking, I ought to quit while I'm ahead. Every show has its run, and I thought it was just time to turn it over, because now people were really getting really good, and I said, well, they don't need me anymore.
Man.
So that's it.
Well,
So
that's an incredible story. 10 years of YouTube, and from being there since the start. I did some underground research. You said you joined in 2007, but your account was created September 2nd, 2006.
oh,
So
how about that?
that's
Okay.
less than. Hang on, let's see. YouTube was 2005. Yeah. So you were within the year, which is pretty.
I jumped on it. I
That's
must have been
outstanding.
drunk.
So,
I don't know.
well, what year? I mean, compared to when you started uploading your tabs, was that 01, 02, or was
Yeah, I think it
okay?
was '01 or around sometime around there.
Okay.
I didn't know these dates would become important. So it's
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know how we obsess. We're a little we're a little too into the dates sometimes. Well, I mean, of course, though, it would take a deadhead to get started on to be an internet pioneer in the way that you were. I'm so amazed by it all. It's fascinating to me.
I've
But
got a book. I've got a bookshelf here with a whole volume of scholarly articles on the dead aspects of the dead.
wow, yeah,
They there are as many approaches to the Grateful Dead as there are deadheads.
yeah,
And so nobody's got a patent on genius here. It's all, everybody comes at this a little differently and from a different slant. And
yes.
if I made the world a little better place, good for me.
Well, you
That was
certainly did. I mean, I think everybody. It speaks volumes about this community, how supportive we are of each other's playing, and even
yeah,
when there's a lot of things to learn and critiques to be made. I think most of the time people deliver that feedback in a nice way, in a respectful way, and everybody who's good gets promoted all the time because we like to talk about how good players are. So
right, right. Well,
shout
I
out.
noticed about musicians that they are very supportive of other musicians,
Yeah.
even when maybe they're not that good.
Yes.
They never, they'll try to be encouraging.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. That's a great thing.
That's why open
And
mics exist.
right, right. So that's it's good that works the way it does. And so I'm never critical of another player. Everybody's doing their thing the way they do it.
Yep.
And I've noticed even among all the great Jerry players or Bob players, they all have a little different. They heard something a little differently than the other guy,
Yes.
and they're capturing another aspect of Jerry or Bob. And of course, nobody can capture all of Jerry or all of Bob,
Yeah.
but it's the journey, it's the trip that's important.
Yeah, I love it. We're constantly focused on getting better, and that's a beautiful, beautiful part of this community.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm so astounded that you visited us for an interview today. I'm very thankful for you and thankful for your contributions. And is there anything that you're doing now on your journey? What are you doing nowadays now
Well,
that you're not
I'm
uploading?
I'm playing a lot.
Good.
I play out from time to time. I get invited to sit in.
Awesome.
I'm not a vocalist, which is a big drawback.
Yeah.
It really helps if you can sing.
Yep.
Helps if you're young, good looking, thin, and
A lot of
and talented.
yeah. It's,
And I'm afraid I can't check those boxes.
I don't know. I feel like you get a few of those.
So yeah, I'm doing that and play. I've tried to move on from the Dead, frankly,
Cool.
to try to get a little more intricate in the guitar work.
Cool.
I was never I was never a finger picker, but now I'm doing a lot of finger picking.
Yeah.
I was never a jazz player, but jazz is a lot of fun, a lot of cool stuff in there. And then the Dead, of course,
Oh,
understood jazz.
yep.
You can hear it.
Yeah.
So that's my story,
That's
man.
awesome. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much for
Well,
being on
well,
here. It's
well.
unreal.
Thank you, thank you for what you're doing. I think it's a great thing. I think it's a great group,
Man,
and I just like checking in and listening to the music. It's
that's
great.
great. Well, I'm so glad that you're tuning in,
Okay.
and I hope that we can maybe have you back on one day if you have a new project that you got to tell us about because you're constantly innovating, and we're very appreciative of it.
Okay. Thanks, man. All right.
Adios, Jay.
Adios.